finding mom friends feels very much like dating. I don't know how I would get through parenting without having other moms to send photos. Is this normal? What do I do? Should I call the pediatrician?
How do you eventually bridge into that phase of like, we're not just friends because of our kids, we're actual real friends?
My one piece of advice for a lonely mom is you're not the only person going through this, and to not be afraid to step very much outside of your comfort zone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julia, Senior Managing Editor at the Everymom, and welcome to our Everymom group chat discussion today, where we have real, honest conversations about motherhood and parenting. Today's chat is all about the importance of mom friends and how to find your people and your village. We had an overwhelming response to our Instagram story teasing this episode topic. So many moms share that they're really struggling to make mom friends, keep mom friends, and find people where they live that they connect with. So I'd love to hear from you guys about your experience making adult friendships and specifically mom friends. Have you found it easy? Is it hard to seek people out and connect with people? I'd love to hear about your experiences.
The first time I tried to make mom friends, I left my house and was like, I'm going to the park. I'm going to make mom friends like I'm a little kid again. You just go up and spot people who have the same age range of kids. And it's scary. But the first time I did it, it was kind of like, okay, wow, I can do this. And you just keep doing it.
What's your opening line at the park? How do you approach people?
Like, what's my pickup line? I think at that point, you kind of just have one thing in common. You have kids. And it's like, how old is your kid? Oh, this is my kid's age. And then you go from there. I think that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Your kids will automatically give you something to talk about. People usually want to talk about their kids. You share kids' stories and experiences, and then you start sharing sources right away, favorite places to go, things to do, foods to try, kid classes you're taking that you recommend or don't. Like that conversation, if you find someone with a kid in the same stage, can usually flow even just from a point of asking questions. My pickup line is usually, how did you end up moving to this town? I'm like you in the suburbs, and I actually grew up here. How did you find this town? How did you end up living here? So that was always a really good icebreaker, conversation starter, especially since you're moving to a new area and you're going to be out in that area, assuming most of those people live around you, Julia. And that's like fun because then you get to know a little bit about their background and that flows into their personal history and where they're from. And they have a partner. Like, how did you guys meet? All that. If you want to not just talk about the kids, how did you end up living here is a good. I feel like there's one thing that I've learned. I'm kind of slightly more unapologetically myself because you don't have a lot of extra time with kids. And the energy and the time you are going to put into relationships, you kind of want to make sure you jive because you will meet other people. It's not like you meet someone and that's your only chance at a mom friend. So be yourself, really know whether you're aligned and jive, whether it's your humor or your values. I kind of just put it out there, but then you are more likely to find your people that way in a very authentic way.
Robbie, you have a unique perspective living in the city compared to a couple of us suburbanites. So I'd love to hear from you.
I moved to Brooklyn from Manhattan, and at the time that felt to me like I was moving to the suburbs because it's so much more quiet. I didn't have any friends here. My friends were all in the city. My sister and my mom, everybody was in the city. So it felt like a big move. I was pregnant and had my son a month after we moved. I remember saying to my husband, how are we going to build a community here? And him saying, we're never going to build a community here. We have to move to the suburbs. There's no community building in Brooklyn. Fast forward 2.5 years, I remember being at our son's birthday party with a bunch of people from our neighborhood or like walking down the street and like say hello to everyone because it feels like a very small town. I made some mistakes in the newborn phase and the early baby phase. I remember people telling me to sign up for mommy and me groups or go on the Facebook groups and all that. I remember being like, I'm not going to do that. A friend of mine, she went and like full force all the baby groups. And now her child is 7 and she has a million mom friends because they all stay connected. Opening yourself up to people, for someone like me who's introverted, not as comfortable going up to somebody else, but opening yourself up when people do come up to you. Like to me, it's such a relief when somebody comes up to me and starts a conversation. It was like the key for me to making mom friends. For me, the mom friends that I have now that I think will be continuing my mom friends for a while didn't really start until the school days because school really does make that much easier.
When you think about making friends before being an adult, it's because of
frequency and proximity. It's people in school that you see every day. You don't have that again in your adult life until school re-enters the picture, unless you're putting in, coworkers, frequency and proximity. And then if you don't have that, because everyone works remote now, that's where like at the elementary level, or I have friends whose kids are in full-time daycare from infancy on, and that's their tight group, but it's frequency and proximity. You're on emails with these people. You will get a text chain going because you can't keep up with all the emails coming from school. So you are going to help each other and remind each other of stuff. Not to say you have to wait for elementary school, because there's lots of other options. Neighbors is the other one that Robbie just said. And that is like a potluck or a crapshoot of who you get. But if you have even one who's proximity close by that you jive with, even if your kids are different ages, that also has been really helpful in making good adult friends.
But it's funny, my closest mom friend is a neighbor. Her son was in preschool with my son, and they're in the same school now. We were friendly when they were babies, but we didn't become close. COVID happened, and my son was probably 3 when COVID happened. And there was that period of time where like nobody was really spending time together. And her and I became really close once they both went into kindergarten. We started going out for drinks and started going out to dinner together. And now like text a million times a day across all platforms. It's so funny. I love that meme that goes around. Who is the mom friend that you're talking to on Instagram, on text, on an email chain from school, on WhatsApp? And it's like, it really does solidify when the kids get older.
That's a question I have. I think having the commonality of similar kids' ages or proximity, as you were saying, Elena, kind of bridges the gap of an introduction. You have an excuse to talk to people. My plan when I move to the suburbs, it's going to be the summers to just get out and about, walk around when the baby's born, walk around in the stroller and say hi and talk to people. But what I'm most curious about is how do you take that introductory period of small talk, like, oh, our kids are the same age, your kid's so cute, whatever, what are your kids into? And actually translate it into the type of mom friendship Robbie was describing, where the kids aren't the center of the friendship. You go out for drinks, you do things just as moms and as friends. How do you eventually bridge into that phase of like, we're not just friends because of our kids, we're actual real friends?
I think it takes time, but I also think it takes somebody breaking that seal, right? Like someone being the first one to be like, hey, do you guys want to get drinks? Because you could be in a group chat talking about what you're taking to preschool, or are you signing your kids up for soccer? But then the first person to say, hey, you guys want to go get drinks? And then it just becomes a thing. And I feel like that's what happened with some of my mom friends. And then I have other really close mom friends that came from school. And it's the same thing. Like someone just has to be the first one to say it. And then you talk about the same thing we talk about as coworkers, right? Like how do you bridge that person? It's almost like a coworker relationship, because it's how do you do that non-work bonding? And it's talking about books and movies and like, what is everybody watching? I never realized that, but I do think it's a close proximity to a coworker relationship almost. And then there are the coworkers that you develop super close relationships to stay with you over time. And then people that you really like. It's interesting to think of it like that.
I have a few tips. Our preschool had in-person pickup. You have to walk in to pick up your kid. Showing up there daily is a few minutes of like seeing each other almost daily and like making that connection. So you're going to see people frequently. And then in that setting, or at a park or at a baby class, like there can be no fear of saying, well, let me get your phone number. Let me know if you want to meet up at the park again. Or when you're coming to the next class, we had a family in our older son's class who was like so good, and they love entertaining and hosting, but like they were frequently inviting different couples and families over for dinner. And like that one-on-one time, or not even one-on-one time, but that like, quality time, I think really broke the ice of like building certain relationships, really telling like if you were going to jive with someone. But like even for Robbie's point, the like who wants to get drinks, it's much more easy to say yes when you know there's going to be more than 2 people. Even if there's a third, you're less nervous to go because a group setting is just easier for conversation. So like if you're willing to put yourself in that position of connecting people, throwing out the let's get coffee. Hey, do you guys want to go for a walk and get coffee? Including more than just one person. The more people, the more you're going to build a mom group. You know, you either it's going to work and it's going to be great and more will happen, or nothing happens after that. It can go either way, and it's not a big deal if it isn't your person. Yeah, it's not weird to ask other people for their phone numbers. It's normal because you need to be in touch with stuff.
Yeah, the chances of you running into them again are high if you're going to the same parks or the same school pickup. That's the bridging into like, let's Keep in touch.
And it can just be, hey, I saw, and you can offer the olive branch of, I saw registration was starting, just wanted to make sure you saw it. Little things, and that kind of, it's more natural, like with like I said, proximity and frequency, and have that commonality of where you live or your kids are around the same age.
Have a lot of those interactions actually turned into lasting friendships for you? How do you handle the ones that fizzle?
Yeah, I feel like finding mom friends, I don't know why it's so different than when you're in your 20s, but finding mom friends feels very much like dating. Like, do I want to introduce you to my kids? Do I want to introduce you to my family? And I think going into that, I have this mindset like, yes, I'm trying to find friends and high quality friendships, but it's okay if you don't hit it off. And if it's just that one time interaction of finding that commonality of like, oh, we have the same age kids, you guys get to play for a little bit and nothing stems from that. I think that's what's great about being a mom is because it's like, okay, move on. Like, as we all know, we don't have a lot of time. So it's like, if you don't hit it off, it's okay. I'll find my group, my friends eventually.
It's so true. Going to networking events was always something I was uncomfortable with. You know how when you meet someone, it is either very easy to talk to them or it's not. And so it's like, it's not a you thing, it's a together thing, right? Because clearly if you have an easy time talking with some people, it just flows. But yeah, exactly like Patty said, like it's not going to, you're not going to have lasting relationship. If like one ends up being awesome, I think that's a win. But you kind of have to test the waters with everyone.
Have any of you ever been in a situation where you hit it off with someone early, but then as you get to know them, you realize you have very different parenting styles or values or are starting to not vibe? Have you had to do a mom friend breakup? That sounds hard.
I don't think a mom friend breakup, but I definitely have been in situations, and I think it's, there's situations where it's mutual. There's situations where it's just life. Like, people that we were super close with when Lucas was really little and preschool, where their kid is now in a different phase of life and our kid is now in a different phase of life. As much as we all want to spend time together or for them to continue to play, it's just a different scenario than when the kids were 4 and we played so easily. And so I don't know that you ever sit down and say, hey, like, we're not going to be friends anymore, but it's just fizzled out. And I think the beauty of doing this in this time is, I'm friends on Instagram with this person and I'll be like, oh my God, she's so cute. And I would love to get together, and you legitimately feel that, but then it doesn't happen. And that's sad because it feels like that nostalgic sadness of your kid growing up. When the kid starts to outgrow a friendship and then you outgrow that parent as part of that friendship, and you think about how you all were so close before. I think it's just realizing that that's part of life. Like Eleni said, not everyone's going to be your person all the time. There are going to be people that are your closest mom friend for a certain season, and then you will all go into different, and for no animosity or anything, it just happens that like one child is really into a sport and the other child is really into this art. And it just sort of, like Patty said, there's only so much time, and everyone understands that.
We all have examples of that throughout life. You have childhood friends that you were friends with for a phase, a middle school friend that by the time you were in high school, you kind of lost touch with, or if you moved away, or a friend from sports or college. Life takes us in a different direction. So it's unrealistic to go into some of these friendships thinking we'll be lifelong besties. But as someone just entering motherhood, I do feel like the age of your kids can be a double-edged sword in this scenario, because like you were saying, Elena, the older your kids get, the more opportunity there are to meet people, whether it's through school or extracurriculars or sports. But as you said, Robbie, you also run the risk of outgrowing each other because of different scenarios, or the kids not remaining friends forever. Robbie, you and I have talked about this. One thing my mom always said to me was have your own friends outside of your kids, because your kids will change. And we all have examples of this, of someone you were friends with when you were 5 that you probably lost touch with over the years. So it's hard. You want the kids to be the commonality in mom friendships, at least in the beginning. But then it can't be the only thing, because your kids
100%.
change, right?
No, 100%. The kids are like the
The bridge.
It's like how you get in. Like that, it makes it easier to meet people. And then you hopefully find your people. Take, for example, again, I'll just keep talking about my older son because that's like the one who's in elementary school where there's over 50 kids in his class. I have met all 50 moms. We host a moms meetup. I like everyone. Everyone seems great, but there's a couple. We have started a book club together. And it started because our kids were all hanging out as families, but now us women have developed a friendship that has extended past just kids. Now we have each other. I think it's really important for moms to have each other as resources. It doesn't mean you only get together because your kids are getting together.
To me, I've felt in the past tremendous pressure around making mom friends. And what I've come to realize now is that you can only do as much as you can, and don't put the pressure on yourself. Like, oh, if I don't meet my big group of mom friends right away, oh, am I never going to have mom friends? Because I think you'll meet people and you'll naturally click and your kids will naturally click and those relationships will evolve. But there's no pressure. Like I said, I didn't have a traditional group of mom friends for years in the first few years, and it's okay. I do think the one thing for me that I regret is my son is not particularly social. And I try really hard to bridge that gap because I think if we were more social and we are making more friends and we're out there, it helps him. So I think to me, that is something that really adds pressure because then I'm like, okay, I have to become friends with all these people. But then I have to take a step back and think, this is also just my personality. And I have to be okay with his personality being like that. And we're both doing the best we can.
I had that rude awakening, again, kindergarten, entered elementary school. And it was like, if I'm not connecting with other moms, my kid's not having playdates because playdates get scheduled by moms texting one another. And that's when I was like, I remember saying that to Dan, are our kids not going to have friends? Are we the driving force of whether or not our kids have friends? Because their friendships are determined by frequency of having playdates and getting asked to playdates or having kids come to our house. No one's going to let their kid come over if they don't know us. It is this weird double-edged sword of at a young age, your kids' friendships rely heavily on your participation in the socialization, which sounds more complicated than I'm trying to say, but that was a hard learning curve in kindergarten because there were a bunch of kids in his class who were younger siblings. Moms already knew each other from the older siblings. And so I was like an oldest kid mom, and like the moms I became closer with were the kids who were also oldest kids, because the moms who had their younger sibling, like they already knew each other and they weren't as eager to meet new people. That was a whole dynamic that was kind of tough to navigate. But that was I'm like, oh my God, he's not going to have playdates if I'm not the one arranging the playdates, and they're not going to say yes if they don't know me.
So I feel like when your kids are younger, especially in the newborn phase, those friendships are very much driven. Does this mom vibe with you? I feel like I'm in this weird transition of Hudson starting school soon. Now your kids are making their own friends at school and navigating. Do you also be friends with these moms? Do you have to be friends with everybody?
Henry came home from school and he's like, I want to play date with so-and-so, someone I hadn't met. So I had to pull up the directory, find the number. I texted and I was like, hi, I'm Henry's mom. He's mentioned wanting to have a play date with your son. And she didn't know me. So it was yeah, let's meet up at the park so the kids could play and we could meet. She didn't call me after that. So I don't know what I said.
Well, that's a whole part of it is like just the keeping in touch. So it sounds like you guys like mostly text and initiate and try to plan the next get together. Like it's mostly texting.
I think so. And again, you will immediately recognize a willingness in the counterpart or not if someone's not eager back. Maybe it's just not their place in life. Who knows what they have going on? Don't read too much into it. You can tell pretty quickly, like if someone is eager to say yes, if someone is also texting and reaching out first. And maybe they're not because, again, maybe they can't. But like if they're quick to reply and like do the meetup or do the play date or help out, it shows itself pretty naturally. Moms have so much bandwidth, and that's fine if it's not panning out with one. There's more fish in the sea, so to speak.
How much time do you guys feel like you realistically have in a given week or maybe month to devote time to seeing friends outside of play dates or meetups for your kids?
It's so funny. I feel like I say this all the time because I have two of my closest friends live like 25 minutes away from me. And there's no reason why we shouldn't see each other monthly. But then I end up seeing the group of friends I have from my neighborhood because it's just the proximity and it's so easy. It's like, hey, do you want to have a drink on Wednesday? Can you do this day?
I would say once a month with a certain friend group. I have my high school friends live near me, which I'm so lucky, but even that's once a month if we can. The book club is once a month. But then neighbors, that's the spontaneous hang where like it's nice weather, so we're all outside and it's a casual hangout, or you run into each other at the park or a school event. But scheduled just moms having special female friendship time. I'd say once a month. And that's just because of busy schedules. It's not because you don't want to.
You
Yeah.
establishing a book club is helpful. It's
Yes.
not, oh, should we get dinner again? Or should we do something different this time? Like,
I know so many people who say, I'm in the book club for the socializing. My girlfriends are in a spicy romance book club and they hate that genre, but they go for the fun. That's like the mahjong and everything, right? You just need an excuse to get together, whether you do the thing.
yeah.
I've found that it's so hard to get everybody together because it's like, okay, if we're going to do that, see you next year. But for at least my group, it's like, hey, I know this is last minute, but tomorrow or tonight. And it's so surprising how much more people show up compared to planning it weeks ahead.
Right. That's where the group text is really helpful. Like, we're going to the pool this afternoon, and you have to not be afraid that because no one's available, that means something other than no one's available. You might get a lot of it and you might get nothing. I feel like there's something with the planning. There's this expectation that we need to find a date that works for everyone. Ergo, you will never find a date that works. Whereas with the spontaneous, it's whoever is free and there's no hard feelings if someone can't make it.
Sometimes they'll have situations where it's like, okay, everybody could go at one point and then it's like two of you. And sometimes those are scary, but I also get into my head with that. But I have to sit there and be like, you know what? This is good for me. One-on-one time with somebody, I just need to get out of the house. I've had a day. It will be good for me. And those are sometimes the best times.
That happened to me. It was a mom's night dinner and everyone backed out. And it was like me and the one woman standing left and I barely knew her. And I was like, let's do it. Have a glass of wine. It'll be fun. Now she's in my book club. She's amazing. She's one of those women I know I could message whoever. And like, sometimes you do just take the scary step.
I think it's important to remember that you feel that way. They probably feel that way too. We're all sitting here talking about it. That means a lot of people have that like, oh, the scary, like it's same thing with the making the first move at the playground, getting somebody's phone number, texting for a play date. Most people feel some degree of like, okay, we're trying at this, right? So it's not just you.
That's so good to keep in mind because many aspects of friendship and planning and initiating can seem intimidating, but the chances are the person on the other end that you're chatting with feels the same way too and is probably like, oh, thank goodness they said something. One question I have for the group is, what do you guys find most valuable out of your mom friendships? Do you go to them for mom advice? Are you always talking about your kids? Do you find the conversations that aren't about your kids to be the most valuable? Is it the in-person quality time? What aspect of mom friendship are you most seeking when you either reach out via text or talk to them in person?
First and foremost, you need another mom to talk to about parenting a kid and the marriage stuff. You need that resource of having another go-to person who's in it. I would say it's the main awesome benefit of mom friends, followed by like, okay, let's talk about the non-parent, like the break from parenting. But if I had to weigh them, I think like having that community resource or like another, have you experienced this? You know what to do in this situation. That has for me been by far essential. I don't know how I would get through parenting without having other moms to send photos. Is this normal? What do I do? Should I call the pediatrician? I mean, that's the constant text chain.
Yeah, I feel like it's just knowing that you're not alone in all of it because motherhood can be so lonely. And just having, I mean, just as moms in general, we have that common feeling of like what Elena said, like, is this normal? Are you feeling this too? And even if your friend isn't feeling it, I feel like moms just have this nurturing feeling for the most part or a way to say like, it's okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think the whole like, I'm not alone in this and just having a sounding board. And for me, it generally is about whatever's going on with your kid. You have that commonality. And then having somebody who's going through the same things in the same place as you, in a different way and has a different perspective, I think is really one of the most valuable things.
And you brought up a good point, Robbie. For a lot of people, your friends become your village, especially if you are someone who doesn't live close to family. Like, you rely on them for the fun times, the book clubs, the hangs at the park, but hopefully you also develop a friendship with somebody you can rely on in the tough times too. Like, my kid is sick, a middle of the night, like I need a favor. I forgot to pick them up, anything like that.
We're
It's like,
running one to the ER. Can we give the
Yeah.
other one to you? And it's like, no questions asked. Yeah, drop them off. It is a no questions asked. How can we help or drop them off? Like anytime.
yeah, that's what I'm hoping to be able to find in our new neighborhood and community. I have friends and family nearby, but not like down the street nearby. So being able to form friendships where you can rely on your village in big ways and small, I think is really helpful and important.
I feel like it's the power of one mom friend. I was on bed rest and in the hospital for my last pregnancy, cumulatively a little over 5 weeks. One mom friend says one mom needs something. It's like everybody shows up in some way or form.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think if you could just be that kind of person going into it, people will at some point in your friendship or in the season show up in some way, whether it's your best friends or not.
And even in the smallest way, I feel like people just checking in on you, knowing that you're going through a hard time. And so if you have those people that you're sharing those things with, that sort of transcends that, like, hey, we're at school, our kids are playing soccer, but then if you're going through something and that person checks in on you, it's just so meaningful.
We have a bunch of reader and follower questions for the group that I would love to transition to now. One question is, how do you make and maintain mom friends without it becoming cliquey or competitive or dealing with the comparison game?
I do feel like, unfortunately, human nature sometimes tends to cliques and groups and competition. I try to remind myself that we're all adults and everybody has one thing in common, raising good, happy kids, and not kind of dwelling into sort of like a high school mentality and really keeping the focus on just like, we're here to be the best moms we can be. And so I don't know, I don't think I've encountered, there's definitely like groups, and I think again, humans tend to navigate towards that group mentality, but you're just there to be a mom and not get swept into any form of drama.
My advice, because I've experienced this and I've seen this, you can't control what they do, but you can control what you do. Just because someone else is doing it doesn't mean you do it back. Still include everyone, whether it's the mom meetup with the class. If it's, hey, I'm going to the pool, text more people, be the person you would want, treat people how you'd want to be treated. Even if you see it happening, it doesn't mean you have to engage.
Yeah, I think it's all about what you value out of the friendship you're getting. And if it works for you, to focus on that rather than all the sound and the noise going around.
Similarly, how do you handle kid to kid drama with mom?
I think it's sort of a similar thing. Like I always say to my son what Leanne just said, like, you can't control them, we can only control you. So react the way that you would hope somebody else is reacting to you. And I think depending on how close that relationship is with the other parent, either addressing it or not engaging in the drama and just trying to be the best at what you're doing versus trying to make sure that somebody else is doing something differently.
I had advice from someone with older kids who said to not be friends with your kids' friends' parents because something might happen. I was like, that's pretty hard. I'm friends with a lot of them. You have to separate. There's always two sides of it. Is it a school situation? Is it more a school conversation? One relationship might be strained for a week on the playground and then it all is fine. I would take it with a grain of salt and see how serious it gets before things need to be elevated to parent level. I would say one incidence is usually kids are learning how to be together and talk to each other and engage with each other. So they're figuring it out. It would have to be like pretty repetitive or serious to like a parent conversation, I think.
I also think, and this is like my feeling coming from how my parents parented me and dealt with parenting friendships, because I don't have a child yet. But like we were saying before, it's hard sometimes to transition the kid friendships into lasting adult friendships. But I think sometimes parents put too much pressure on the kids remaining friends as well. If you've transitioned to like, we met through the kids, but we're friends regardless, as your kids get older and they get into different activities or they're into different, I think that's either a make or break friendship point for the parents. Don't put too much pressure on your kids and the families having to be best friends. The kids grow apart due to age or interests, or the parents can still be friends, but it may transition to like them being 5 and the families getting together to like just the parents go out to dinner and the kids, you don't like
Right.
won't have to be besties and it's okay.
Right.
Because they're gonna have their own friends and it'll ebb and flow. But I think there's some people who put too much pressure on if we're gonna be friends, we all need to be friends. And it's like, that's hard.
It is hard because as kids get older and birthday parties get smaller, there will be awkward situations, and it's just a part of it.
A lot of people had questions about making time for friends. One person said after work in childcare, there's nothing left to give, which is so valid. Does anyone have one snippet of advice of how to make time, keep in touch, and keep it easy, and make sure you carve out those moments when busy to connect with people?
Yeah, I feel like that a lot, especially because as parents, we're so tired. But it's a lot of reminding myself, I wanted this, I need that extra time. And it's kind of like forcing yourself to go out for that little bit. And once you're there, you're like, this is all I needed. All I needed was to talk with a friend. So I think just keeping that in mind, like, is this something that would be good for you or not?
I think a conversation with your partner, if you have a partner, full-time partner in home or whatever, like that's an expectation you both need. If there's time to go golfing, then there's time for you to have your book club, workout class, and mom coffee meetup. And I don't know, my husband and I had like a come to, again, this not with the little kids. We weren't very social when we had the babies and the toddlers, other than like friends that we kind of grew up with. It was the meeting people didn't start till we moved to the suburbs and went into the school age kids. So I do think that's a big factor. That talk of like, you need your time away, I need my, even if it's once a month, like you have to be there for each other so that the other one has it. So as long as you're in agreement on that, then it's putting it on the calendar or taking advantage of the spontaneous offers to hang and check in. And if childcare is an issue, then it's like, come over with your kid.
I feel like some of the best sort of like first mom friend hangouts was like, hey, come over, let's have a glass of wine and kids can hang out too. Or we'll meet at the park or a pizza place and everybody's hanging out and kids are eating pizza and we're talking. I do suffer from the same thing, Patty, where I like, it'll be, okay, I have a dinner and it's at 7:30. Oh man, I really don't want to go. I wish I could just put on my PJs and go to bed, and then kind of having to force yourself and power through that.
I try really hard to do with friends is even in between the hangouts, like just sending those quick, like thinking of you texts or, hey, I remember you said you had a big work presentation today, like hope it went well. I've gotten so many texts from friends that it's like I mentioned like, oh, I'm going to the doctor on Friday for my 28-week checkup. And somebody remembers that little tidbit of information and texts and says like, hope your doctor's appointment went well.
That's really sweet.
And it's like a 2-second thing. The forethought and the care behind it means so much, whether it's just thinking of you or checking in or things are crazy over here. Hope you're having a good week. Those little things go a long way in between the hangouts. And that helps build that lasting friendship foundation where it's like, I'm not just here for the happy hours, even though those are fun too. I actually care about you as a human being and care about what you're going through. Like we can commiserate when things are hard.
The one thing I was going to say was I do think it gets easier to make time as they get older. You find kids are in activities later. I get this, it's a cliche, but dad's saying with the kid when they're older and it's less of a preparing and all that. So I think it does get easier as they get older.
Okay, so to close out the questions, I wanted to ask each of you in the group to share one piece of advice you'd give to a lonely mom trying to find her people.
To reiterate, I would say as much as she is comfortable, be unapologetically herself, because one friend who matches your vibe is worth 10 where you feel insecure or like you have to try to match them. Like someone where you can just see each other and respect and love each other for who you truly are. A true mom friend shouldn't be the stress or the insecurity. It should just be who you are.
I think we, like going off of what you said, Elena, we put so much emphasis on the mom group, but really, if you have one really good friend that you can connect with on all levels and you know that you can show up as yourself and they are your person, that means more than
That's what I would tell my kids in
Well,
school.
you don't need a lot of mom friends. It's
When
okay.
I tell my son that all the time because it's very hard for him to make friends. I
Yeah.
always tell myself that too. Like quality versus quantity. It's okay to have 3 really tight friends versus 15 friends that you're seeing for playdates all the time. And that's okay. My one piece of advice for a lonely mom is when I've been there, you're not the only person going through this, and to not be afraid to step very much outside of your comfort zone. I've forced myself to volunteer at school, be class parent, to go up to that other parent and say, how old is your kid? So don't be scared to step outside of your comfort zone, but also know that you're not the only person feeling that way.
For me, I'd say even though it's scary trying to make mom friends, keep at it. Just because you don't click with somebody right away, sometimes those micro connections build up and you'll find somebody. It doesn't have to be so many people, but you'll find somebody that you'll click with, and all those micro connections that you had before led up to this final friendship. It will happen, and it doesn't happen right away, but find some friends. It's great.
Rome wasn't built in a day. That's what I like to remind myself with our move. I want to make friends. I want to be a new mom in our town that
You will.
makes her new mom friends. But if it doesn't happen right away, it's okay.
I have complete faith in you.
Thank you guys all for joining today and talking through this very relatable topic for lots of moms. The everymom.com, as well as our Instagram, which is at the Everymom, has tons of other helpful parenting content. Check out our huge library of parenting articles and follow us on Instagram for more shareable, relatable content. Thank you guys for joining today's chat.
Thanks.
Bye.